Welcome everyone, this is Pilot Needles and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO and here at LOTRO Players. And this week we have with us Senswinda
Hello.
and Krister.
Hello.
Hello there, Krister and Sans. It is time for us to look at the news for this week, where we actually have a Bullroarer build for update 34, beta number 1. Either you have a chance to play it yet?
No, but I believe I've heard some feedback, so I want to hear what you're saying.
I patched it, but I didn't actually get into it. So, no, I didn't have a chance to play it yet.
We'll just have to see if we can get you into it next week then. Then let us head into our patch notes for this week, where for update 34 the preview focuses on the following features. First of all, delvings. Delvings are a new mechanic debuting with Before the Shadow missions. When you complete your first Before the Shadow mission, you'll get a special delving gem called an Unnerving Zircon, which sets you on the path to additional challenge for additional rewards. Check your inventory for a quest starting item that will send you towards delving. You can find Before the Shadow mission NPCs at the camp of Andreth, Hearn, Klegur, and Hlangaran. Note, characters must be level 140 in order to access the delving system. So you only have to be level 20 to access the missions themselves. Read more in our guide on LOTRO.com. There is also more information in the release notes. Please provide with feedback to give a thread or which to provide any feedback that you find while running either the missions or the delvings. And I noticed that the NPCs, each of the NPC camps have their own set of delving. So they've split, not delvings, the missions. So they split up the missions at 4 different locations, as opposed to having them all grouped side by side as you have in Gundabad or in Elderslade. So that was the first look into there on delvings. I did run a few of the missions there, and I noticed they aren't being rotated. It looks like each one has a set of missions that they have. It's sort of similar to what you would have at Trestle Bridge or at the one that's in Erebor. So it seems to be on that one, but it could just be that it was the first beta and that there might be more to come. I guess we'll just have to see as time goes through here. But for the first beta, we had a number of them. I'd say about 6, it looks like, from what I've seen on there, different missions that are available at each of the camps. Now, I did try take a hand at a delving in one of them just to see what it was like. It looks like that the missions that are in the new area, that they don't have any twists. By default, they don't have any twists. The missions that you have in all the other areas tend to have little twists to them that are associated with it. This one doesn't seem to have any twists to them. It's just that when you use the delvings, what the delvings do is they add twists to it. So eventually, if you are at delving 10, you're going to have 10 twists on them. And of course, these twists can get tougher and tougher as you go higher and higher. So you have all these in there. And the one that I tried, the twist that they gave me was that they put down puddles that did damage to you.
Ouch.
Yeah, ouch is right. And it's probably why I didn't do any more after that. Is I'm not exactly fond with it, especially considering that when you're a melee class and you have 3 or 4 different mobs all throwing the same puddle on you and they stack on each other, so my morale is just going zzz.
What about the reward?
Well, what happened is the mission that I was running happened to be one which isn't quite ready for release yet, let's just say, because I was supposed to destroy 6 catapults and there are only 5 in the mission.
No.
Actually, there was a sixth catapult that I couldn't interact with. So yeah, they're still working on them, obviously, because everything in here, since this is the first beta, there are gonna be bugs, of course. So the one time I attempted it, I found I was in cramped space. Cramped space plus puddles is never a good combination, especially when you're a melee class. So I didn't exactly enjoy that for that reason. And when you added to that I couldn't even finish it.
Yeah, that sounds like the corrupt carnival rolling into town, you know, where
that's exactly
all the games are fixed, you know?
Yes. So yes, I didn't do too much with Delphins. I did run a number of the missions just to see what they were like in general, and I just didn't feel like there was as much variety in these missions as in some of the others. As the ones, because I had in one area, it looked like I had 2 or 3 of them that had pretty much, except for a slightly different setting, they had pretty much the same objective: kill 10 Dark Waters, or kill 10 orcs and 10 half orcs, or something like that. I just didn't feel like there was as much variety as you have with the missions that are in Gundabad or someplace like that. But it could be that they just are. These are version 1s, that they'll be tweaking them a little bit. I hope they tweak them a little bit before they get released. Now, the second thing that they added is the new starter instance. A new starter instance is available for newly created characters on Boror. Create a character, select use before the shadow, and run the new instance, Mossward, and the border village. And this sends you off into your new adventures. So this is, in many ways, equivalent to the tutorials that you get in all the other areas in here. What is different, though, is that when you finish the tutorial, you're put directly into the main world Mossward. You're not sent into a small area where you go from levels 2 through 6 or anything like that. Now, that means you come in at level 1 into Mossward main world. So you don't have to do anything like veteran status in order to bypass the starting area.
That's actually kind of nice.
Yeah, because you're set directly into there. And in Mossward, looks like they have quests. Most of the quests they have in there are from level 1 to 5. I did see one level 8 quest there. I don't know why that was a bit of an outlier there, but most of them seem to be level 1 to 5 in that particular area. Then they send you on to the next area. Typical LOTRO type stuff with the quest hubs and stuff like that. Now, there was a bug with lore masters in the first, I think it was the second quest in the new prologue, the new epic prologue in there. So there was a little bit of a bug there, so I couldn't progress any further. And it looks like it's one that only affects lore masters. I hope that's fixed by next week so that I can see what the rest of that is. But so far, it looks like it was a pretty good tutorial at least, and it looks like there's some promise on what's in the area. And I am planning to do a series with the new area with a lore master when the set gets released in November 8th, I believe. Finally, the third item in there, a new skirmish is now available called the Doom of Karas Gelebren. This skirmish is available for players levels 20 through 140 and can be played solo, duo, small fellowship, or raid. The new skirmish is accessed via the instance join panel once you have completed the general skirmish tutorial. I did not see a skirmish camp in that area, so either A, I missed it because it could be wherever you are expected to turn to level 20 at, or B, they haven't put one there, or C, they're not planning on putting one there, but I think the area deserves to have a skirmish camp if they're going to have a new skirmish there. In fact, I would suggest the ruins of Karas Galebrin as being a perfect place for a skirmish camp, but that's just my opinion. And to run the skirmish tutorial, visiting skirmish captain in captain's camps located throughout Middle Earth. And I did run the new skirmish quite a number of times in order to get the feel of how that operates. I'll talk about this one a little bit more, but let's just say it's definitely not the easiest of skirmishes. I'll just put it that way. Now, it does have better rewards than most of the skirmishes do, because I noticed that while the old skirmishes, they all have their old rewards. In other words, trash. The new skirmish does actually have two chests that could appear during the skirmish. The first one gives you about the same type of loot that you would get off of a first boss in an instance, is what it felt like to me. And the second chest, that actually gave equipment, which was a little bit of a... Yes. Now, that second chest is on a daily lock. Now, it might be, though, that there could be a separate chest for each tier or size or something like that, because the chest so I don't know what the rules are for pulls out of the chest if you run different levels and stuff like that. I guess I'm going to have to test that out at some point. But there is a chest that appears there at the end that gives you some decent loot on there. So that's why I noticed on there so far. Probably going to have a lot more testing on this, what's going on there. But it's a tougher skirmish, but it does have better rewards than most of the skirmishes. So there's a little bit of a balance there. Now let's go into a few more specifics here on what they give in the notes. First of all, delvings. Once you have a valid delving gemstone trophy, access the delving stone within mission part of the Before the Shadow expansion and a malice will spread throughout the mission if you so choose. The malices will increase in overall difficulty of the mission and reward you with new bartering currency that you can exchange for armor, jewelry, and other items that are roughly on par with the raid level rewards. Now, I should note, it looks like that you, from what I've seen in things, that you get something like some sort of writ when you do this in order to proceed onto there, that you get, I guess, scripts or something like that. Similar to housing writs, you get a number of writs. In order to complete this, you need a certain number of writs in order to get the rewards in question. And looks like you need a large number of them. And I suspect that if you're doing a tier 1 of it, you probably only get 1 or 2 of these, and I suspect that the higher you go, the more of these you get. But seeing how that I already told you what happened in my case, I didn't get very far in the system, so I am not going to worry about that for the moment. I might take another look at it when things get live and are a little bit more stable. But I have a feeling I'm not going to get very far. If I get past Delving 3, I'll be very much surprised. Simply because about how things go and how frustrating I will get with things like puddles. All right. Of course, earning enough of this currency will take time or will take greater risk. Every completed mission you undertake while delving rewards with a new delving gemstone that further increases the difficulty. Risk it all or trade these gemstones in the return to the previous level of difficulty. The choice is yours. Delvings are a new type of quest that currently are used in the enhanced difficulty of this mission system. With this increased difficulty comes greater rewards, right? And delvings have a max count of 10 per day. So yes, you're not going to be able to do 100 delvings in a day in order to quickly get the gear. They want you to take your time a little bit. Choosing one delving quest locks out access to any of the delving quests until the first is completed or failed. And you say, and delvings will fail if you leave the instance at any point before the mission is completed. They're not just saying dying, but they're saying if you leave the mission before the mission is complete. Now, I should warn you that it looks like from what I'm hearing that in order to complete the delving successfully from the point of view of everything is to talk to the NPC. In other words, finish the mission, then talk to the NPC, and that's what successfully concludes the delving, is the impression I'm getting on this.
I'm assuming some people frustratingly found that out.
Yes, and some people frustrated because of course they reach the end and they decide not to go back to the beginning of the instance to look for the scout, and yeah, some scouts wouldn't talk to you, and little things like that are also little problems. They have a few kinks to work out. That is something that I don't think anyone would argue with at the moment. Some might argue that it's a lot of kinks and not just a few, but that's another matter. Yes. And the effects applied in delvings will rotate so that there is a different set of effects and skills applied on a rotating basis. This week there was no rotation because they only had one set ready. They think they may have another set ready next week, so they may be able to do some rotation then, but it sounds like they're planning on doing a weekly rotation, which means if they're up on a weekly rotation, then only between betas are we going to get a change during the beta cycle. We'll see what they decide to do. So that's it for delvings. Not much on that, as I said, for me to report yet, since I haven't really delved into it, shall we say. So let's go to the skirmish. Doom of Karas Gelebrin is a new defensive skirmish available for players 20 to 140, featuring a suite of new deeds and unique rewards. And that's because they didn't want to tie it in with the old skirmish deed system because, well, what do you do if it was required for skirmish from Middle Earth, for example, or something like this? What happens to the people who already have skirmish? So they didn't want to tie it into the old deed system to the previously on the skirmishes. I'm sure that any lieutenants you kill will continue to affect your lieutenant counts because you are going to be running into the lieutenants. Or the lieutenants are the same lieutenants, but I noticed that a lot of lieutenants have been reskinned. Now, they're not reskinned for the old skirmishes. They're only reskinned for this skirmish. I guess these are versions from the past, and that's because when you go to this, you bring it up in the instance panel, but they say they recommend that you seek out Tarandir in the ruins of Karas Gelebrin in Swanfleet before playing the skirmish, because he has a quest for you that discusses the skirmish and the like. So you get that squid. That's only a level 20 quest as far as I could tell. So you're not going to get much of a reward if you do this at level 140, but it gives you a little bit of a wrapper story around the thing. And the fact that the skirmish is called the Doom of Karas Gelebrin, and that you are getting it from the ruins of Karas Gelebrin should be a hint that this skirmish is not exactly set in the present. In fact, the main NPC you're interacting with is Celebrimbor.
And since it was ruins, that means everything turned out fine, right?
Everything has turned out fine, yes. Yeah, we all know that Celebrimbor came out fine, right? So yes, I was wondering if this expansion was in some way to try to tie in with the Rings of Power, and I will have to say that this skirmish definitely is. When it's, I guess the only question is, all right, now in what season of Rings of Power is this scene going to appear in?
That would be interesting if that happened, though. That'd be kind of a cool tie-in, you know.
Yeah,
if it was a literal reference, you know what I mean.
Well, seeing the fact that the skirmish is about Sauron coming to Caris Celebrimbor to take the Rings of Power, and that's the opening voiceover. So yes, and this is also a challenging one because when you see, during the early parts of the skirmish, it seems to be about maybe slightly larger mob groups than you would have in Trouble in Tuckborough or in Icy. But then they turned that up to 10 in the 4th assault and to 11 in the 5th assault. So yes, you're going to be running into a lot of mobs. It's going to get really, really hectic out there. I mean, you do have a couple of elves with you who tend to die, of course. It's keeping Celebrimbor alive. That I think during the 5th final assault, the only one you have to keep alive is Celebrimbor, fortunately. He has to survive long enough for for whatever happens at the end, obviously. All right. So let's go into any questions on skirmish before I continue on. All right. Let's go to character creation. You may now select the new first-time user experience from Before the Shadow in character creation. And I'll have to tell you right now that selection UI right now is a little bit not obvious. There are several reports on that in the feedback threads. So I'm hoping that Standing Stone Games will make it a little bit easier to spot. Because right now, the default is the old location. And it's hard to see. I just barely noticed it when I was creating a character in order to work with this. And the only reason I noticed it was because, of course, I was looking for it. So, yes, I think they could make this a little bit more obvious so that we could be sure to select it right. And I'm wondering what they're going to do concerning selection for the future. In other words, if you select one, are they going to remember the one that you select and use that as your default from now on, or what? I guess we'll have to find out on that. An option has been added to character creation to allow the user to select their preferred tutorial experience. This UI replaces the checkbox that allows you to skip the tutorial. This has been added as an option in the new UI along with the original tutorial or the Mossword experience. Character list reordered slightly so that burglars are again the default class creation option for most races. Having the brawler alphabetically be the default for most races unintentionally placed a premium character as a default, which was unintended. Right, because the brawler is first alphabetically. So that meant that in every class, the brawler was always the first class that would appear when you go into the screen. So what they decided to do is they decided that despite the fact that technically Brawler comes before Burglar alphabetically, they swapped it to 2. So now it's only Longbeard Dwarves, I think, are the only ones now that are stuck with Brawler being on the top of their list instead of Burglar. Right? I think the Longbeards are the only ones who can't be Burglars now, right?
I'm not sure.
All right. Because they added it to elves recently, and of course stout axes can be, and of course hobbits and humans have always been able to do it. And of course, Bjornings is completely irrelevant because the only class to be before
But you
Brawler
mean
alphabetically is
Bjornings
the
can
Bjorning.
only be Bjornings, Painleaf?
Right. Yeah.
Rats. That hasn't changed. No.
A
No.
Bjorning,
No, that hasn't changed.
a multi-class Bjorning Brawler Burglar.
The Bjorning is the lore master. Bear, go do this. Then they change it into bear form and go do it. That seems highly inefficient, though.
All right. Randomly generated StatX names will now be substantially different from randomly generated dwarf names.
That'll be cool.
Bjorn, prefix and suffix no longer used for dwarves and StatX dwarves. I guess so. Original gear of each class except brawlers has had their scaling changed to their correct values, lowering their overall DPS. And this is because of the ridiculousness that we had in the old tutorial that we currently have on the tutorials, where you create a character, your equipment that you get that's now being put into your inventory at the start is better than what you get when you pull out your weapon from the pack. And of course, I said, well, why are you going to equip this new one if you already got a better one? So they decided.
Maybe they'll make the pack ones better so that they just reverse the stats, not just downscale.
Well,
probably not. They just don't want to.
Well, any case, but one of the things they do, and also what happens in the tutorial, they have an interesting way of handling that particular scenario also in there. But the idea now is that you improve your weapon during the tutorial rather than worsening it.
I figure that's a general goal of any of these MMOs is to improve yourself instead of worsen yourself.
Yes. Right. Brawlers will now begin the game with cracked battle gauntlets. In other words, that's going to be their version of what I just said before. And Stout Axe players who purchase veteran status will no longer have quests from the Stout Axe intro stuck on them. Okay, it's good not to have stuck quests. Now for classes, here's an important one. Listen to this. Class trait points have been moved off of quests and deeds and are now granted directly by leveling up. You will start earning trait points at level 2, not a level 6 or 7 whatever they had before.
Your first one used to be 7.
Yeah, first one used to be 7, right. And you will still have 98 total points at level 140 and will no longer be able to have more points than are usable.
Interesting.
So, that means that 2 characters of the same level should have the same number of class trait points. Since they're no longer going to be based on quests or deeds that you have, it's just going to be purely based on your level. Now, we have not yet figured out exactly what the algorithm is for having for each level, because someone tried to compute that and didn't quite get the numbers to balance out in there. So I guess we'll have to figure that out over time. But yes, class trait point. That means you'll no longer have to worry about your Valor characters. Is it, oh no, do I have to go back and get all those class trait points? Nope, you got them all already. So at least that's one thing you won't have to worry about.
That would be nice.
Now, vital overtime effects will now display the interval every X seconds with the decimal point of precision in all tooltips. This corrects an issue with the Brawler Pummel skill tooltip that applied damage every 0.5 seconds. And with the change to the way class trait points are acquired, all class trait trees have been reset for Update 34 before the Shadow. Please respend your class trait points and save your preferred specs. I guess you saw that coming.
Yep. I think that was what people were rumbling about, but
Well, yes, but I have a feeling that because of the change in this and that the numbers might not line up to what they were before on your character.
right, yeah.
That's exactly.
It makes sense, but people will still,
Cartel
they'll still be frustrated,
I mean, having more than 50 characters, yes, I'm frustrated. I like the direction of this. I just wish it was, I don't know, a few years back.
Yeah, that's what I'm Sans. I'm totally thinking. What are you talking about, Sans? It's just like 2 minutes. Oh wait, yeah, but you have 50 characters, so never mind.
Well, it's the logging in and out that's going to take way longer than the setting up the trait trees again.
Well, it's just I'm probably not going to log into a character just to do their trait trees. I'll probably the next time I log into and play that character is when I'm going to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably when I'm in the
that
middle of
makes
an
sense.
instance after finding out that I forgot to respect my trait trees.
That's right.
That's always
so
fun when
weak.
that happens. You're like, why isn't this?
Where are my skills? Why are these all grayed out?
Yeah. Yes. Bjornings! Blue line Bjornings can now block while wielding a spear as a primary weapon. Okay. Bjornings
Blue
now
line Bjorning's block? Brilliant. Sorry, I've had too much coffee. Sorry.
Okay. Bjornings now properly support dual wielding across all damaging skills. Skill and effect damage between dual wielding and two-hand weapons is now much more similar for all skills. Bjorning skill Greater Bee Swarm will now be affected by Bjorning dot pulses and swarm debuff duration traceries. And Bee Swarm could now apply a blank critical defense debuff on targets unless the appropriate tracery to enable the effect was equipped. This effect will no longer appear unless the tracery is active. Alright, so, okay, they're saying that currently it puts on a blank critical defense debuff that doesn't exist. Yeah, I guess misleading information is good to get rid of. Alright, Brawlers! Pummel's channeled damage was not benefiting from the Dexterous Strike or Finishing Attack tracery bonuses. This has been corrected. Latent Light should now properly benefit from trait buffs to light damage, fixed descriptions of Gut Punch and Follow Me, and fixed typos and descriptions of Brawler skill Get Serious. Brawler trait tooltip Well Fed now says incoming healing from cooked food instead of cooked food bonus. The Brawler trait tooltip for Hasten Powerful Technique now lists the correct skill. Brawler skill All One for All can now have its duration refreshed and tier boosted by another cast of All for One. One for All will now only take Fellowship members into account when determining the number of allies nearby for the purpose of applying the proper tier effect. The tier effect, however, will affect all Fellowship and Raid members within range. This change is now noted on the tooltip text. Okay. One for All has the proper range of 15 for determining the number of allies within range to affect the tier of the buff on players. The Brawler skill One for All now only displays the range of its effect once in the tooltip. Right. Pummel no longer has its initial damage pulse prior to the first punch being thrown, but all following pulses are now more powerful to compensate. Follow Me should no longer incorrectly stack with other classes' move buffs. Oh my goodness gracious. I can just imagine a hunter and a brawler together currently on live. Whee! Brawler Hootbold's set armor now has the correct icons and biting status. The Brawler Weather Blow skill has had its tooltips updated to say reduces all incoming damage to 35% to avoid confusion. There are actually no changes to the skill itself. The Brawler's Throne of Dread Terror advanced pieces now have the proper set bonuses on them. Sentient monsters from levels 1 through 49 will now have a chance to drop Brawler Battle Gauntlets when killed. Okay. I guess that means they're finally going to have Brawler drops because I know that was a major thing that they had in there, and that's the entire reason why you have that Brawler little gift box in there that was given to everyone was because of the sentient monsters not dropping them. So I guess if they drop a decent percentage of them and all goes well, that Brawler thing pack probably will go away after that. At least that would be my guess. Remember, Hand Quartermaster added in the profile for the Brawler for the armor that was missing and slotted the Brawler armor into the heavy tier class profiles in the Motes Exchange. Also fixed the order for the profiles so that things appeared alphabetically. For burglars, looks like burglars are having a couple things. The first one is hips can no longer be used while in CDG stealth. CDG? Do you know what CDG means?
I was about to say bless you, but no, there's too many acronyms in my work life for me to decipher that one. So,
unless it's like
Cold Drake Battleground.
Maybe it's like the stealth that you get if you're a hobbit or an elf, but I'm not sure how to make that fit those initials, so I have no idea.
Well, also they cannot use it under shared stealth either. And previously, hips would trigger but fail and go on CD due to the nature of these other stealth effects. So in other words, you're under a stealth effect, and going in the hips would have no real effect because you're already in stealth. And at the same time, it would put your hips into cooldown. So this is something to keep you from doing something that will have no effect and putting you on a cooldown that you really shouldn't be in. So okay, that was reasonable. Several skills have had their attack type redefined as range so that they would not erroneously trigger movement when movement assist is enabled in game effects. This should not change the base damage done by skills or what tracery bonuses they are affected by, but it will change the type of incoming damage mods and avoidances that are checked. Okay. Burglar Word of Mastery Mischievous Gleed Initial Healing will now properly display the correct bonus to healing in the skill Mischievous Gleed. Burglar skills Trace and Traceries now work as intended in the critical multiplier bonuses. The critical response skill damage tracery for burglars now provides a damage boost to the blind bet skill. The Clever Retort damage and healing tracery now accurately scales healing amounts, so when working with Clever Retort and Self-Adulation. Updated the skill Level scaling of the heal values, the clever retort, when it consumes trick disable. Many burglar skills are once again fast. I'm sure that's good news, right? And
For anyone who is a burglar.
red gamble dots and gambler's advantage dots will overwrite themselves from the same burglar, but will stack with multiple burglars. When you consume gambles, you can consume another burglar's blue or green gamble, but only your own red gambles. Okay. Cunning attack bleeds will now correctly apply a target even when another cunning attack bleed is about to expire. Surprise strike positional damage tracery now clearly states that its bonus applies regardless of whether or not you're stealth. Coup de grace now benefits from positional damage and has its base damage increased slightly. Purge corruption now benefits from critical magnitude and positional bonuses. Area effect burglar skills are now frontal arc AoE centered on your target and will always hit your target. Well, it's always nice when something will always hit the target, I guess. The burglar mounted skill Burglar's Treat no longer requires a critical hit before use. The cooldown has been increased to 60 seconds. The heal over time effect from the Burglar's Trait set bonus Relish Battle now shows up. The proper icon and is active. Double-Edged Strike is now earned at level 2. I would presume it used to be earned at a later level. And it's been a while
Probably.
since I was a level 2 burglar, so I wouldn't remember. Stealth effects have been unified, and all versions of stealth will now benefit from skill, trait, or item bonuses, which improve stealth skills or skills used from stealth.
Oh, sure, they'll consolidate stealth, but they won't consolidate goo or filth. Uh-huh.
It used to be level 4.
Okay. Sneak and hide in plain sight will both toggle on your regular out-of-combat stealth, which has a limitless duration. These should function the same as they did up to now. Coup de grace, cash out, and clever retort can now be used to enter combat stealth. Combat stealth is essentially the same as normal stealth, except that it has a fixed duration of 3 seconds and will not be broken when you take damage. It doesn't stop NPC enemies from targeting you, but it will also benefit from combat stealth movement speed, which is now a part of the footpad and leafwalker traits.
I figured out the acronym. Coup de
Yeah?
grace stealth.
Oh,
Ah!
Because if you do it and your target dies, you stealth.
I guess
I think that's what it is. I don't know for sure, but
it does make sense.
That feels correct.
Speaking of coup de grace will now cause you to enter combat stealth when used. It no longer places a target on your enemy or requires your target to die in the next few seconds. It simply causes you to enter combat stealth directly.
ooh, that's cool.
Cash out will cause you to enter combat stealth. So another one case in here. When it consumes a blue debilitating gamble. Cashing out a blue gamble will still stun your target as it did before. The stealth is just an additional effect. I'm sure the burgers will be happy on that. Clever retort will cause you to enter combat stealth when it consumes trick, dust in the eyes, like cash out. This is in addition to the previous existing effect. Well, that's nice. I'll remember that the next time I try to use Clever Retort. The Feint skill from Improved Feint Attack now gives you all the same bonuses as Combat Stealth, except for the visual disappearance. Since Combat Stealth doesn't prevent NPCs from seeing or targeting you, this effect will be functionally identical to Combat Stealth in PvE situations, but should be much less frustrating for opponents in PvP who would otherwise lose their targeting every time you use them improved feint attack. So that's where some of this is coming from. The truth comes out. Yes, the baseline movement speed penalty from stealth has been removed. Any version of stealth without additional bonuses will have normal 100% movement speed.
Ooh, this is gonna be fun.
Now, is that only for burglars or is that in general?
Oh, it'd be even more fun if it was in general. But even if it's just for burglars, that's gonna be fun.
For now, I'll assume it's burglars. And the reason why I'm asking, of course, is that...
I mean, it's under the burglar heading.
Yeah, so it's under the burglar heading, so it goes through as burglar.
For right now.
I play
but
Wardens.
It's still pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I use stealth, let's just say, bit while playing the Warden, so that's the reason why I was wondering about that, especially considering that I have these traceries that help me to move at a decent speed while I'm stealthy, and that increases the time in which I'm in. So I have a pretty decent stealth rating on the Warden now. The potency of the tracery sneak movement bonus has been reduced slightly from 38.5% to 27.5% max, since your baseline stealth has movement speed is 10 to 50% higher than it was before.
Couldn't they have at least done a 28.5 so it would be the same as before if you maxed it out?
Never!
No, now we're going to be a 0.5% slower. That's not nice. Like, here I was thinking, like, I can be, like, 10% faster. Then you're like, no, you can actually be 0.5% slower.
Well, yes, but
no, that's a 1 whole percent slower. 1 whole percent slower.
All right.
They made it faster at the beginning and slower at the end. Boo.
But hold on there. But Leafwalker now gives you up to 20% combat stealth movement speed, up to plus 20% on there. Footpad now has a maximum rank of 4 and a max rank of plus 5 stealth level and a plus 10% combat stealth movement speed. So it sounds like that.
So maybe you can get faster? I
think you get faster. I think if you max it out, I think you will be overall faster, I think.
I hope so.
I'm sure
I want to go
test
faster.
It out at some point. You want to run and you want to be able to be stealth and on a war steed at level 5.
Yes, but it's awesome.
You only need to purchase 3 ranks of footpad in order to start spending points in Hidden Dagger. Reveal Weakness trait and now gives you the following additional effects. Reveal Weakness Blue will give you plus 3% mitigations. Reveal Weakness Red will give you plus 10% melee damage. And Reveal Weakness Yellow will give you minus 3% physical mitigation on your target. Focus Strikes. This trait will turn Double-Edged Strike and Flashing Blades into a single target skills, dealing slightly more single target damage at the cost of targets. So this trait would... So I guess you just have to decide whether you want to focus on single strike and take that trait or not. Purge Corruption is now a part of the critical response chain. It has a 5-second cooldown and will be unlocked by using double-edged strikes. Purge Corruption is also faster to use and deals less damage than it did previously. This will allow burglars to dispel corruption effects much more quickly and effectively on a single target, but at a significant cost to your personal DPS.
Why? I guess so that we don't remove corruptions, but like...
No, well, the idea there is to make it... Looks like... Yeah, this is strange because it sounds like they're saying that it's going to make it easier to remove corruptions, but you'll need a critical in order to use it.
You have to get a critical hit to do it,
Yeah.
And you have to choose to use it instead of doing damage. And they made it do less damage. I don't get this, but okay.
And malicious wound damage has been increased. Captains! Okay, Krister. Banner of Honor should now correctly reflect stat mods such as outgoing healing. Alright, so it's going to be fixing text there, I guess, tooltips. Note, there is a known issue where a pin tooltip on Banner of Honor will immediately change to reflect changes to your stats. So we were hoping that they fix that before actual release. Advantageous attack light damage effect now scales properly with weapons damage and is considered to be more effective. Oh, and it's considerably more effective. Okay. Champions! The champion essence of the Resolute will now reset fight on skill cooldown with AoE melee attack skills as well as single target melee skills. When the Horn of Champions applies a force taunt, it will now also copy threat, like most other tank taunt skills. And bracing attack was erroneously able to critically hit, causing it to occasionally heal for more than it was intended. This has been fixed. I'm sure the champions aren't happy with that one. Okay, with Guardians, fixed tooltip for break ranks to indicate that the effect itself now has a cooldown rather than shield taunt. Litany of Defiance will now properly prevent the building of fortification stacks when it is active and as its tooltip stated. Updated the icon for Guardian Tenderize crit to rating buff, and the tooltips for charge and brutal charge now clearly state that it is that the slow immunity effect lasts for 10 seconds. Hunters! Looks like everybody's getting some changes here. The Hunter's trait, Archer's Mark, now lists the correct debuff on target incoming damage debuff instead of critical defense debuff. And Trace Reads will now affect Merciful Shot even after the Swift Mercy trait set bonus is active.
Sweet.
Lore Masters! Fixed Inner Flame trait damage, buff and description. Damage radius of improved Ring of Fire now matches its increased debuff and visual radius. Fixed the Molten Flames debuff icon showing Distracting Flames icon. Enfeeble now doubles Sign of Power command and Sign of Power sees all ends skill percentages for the first 10 seconds. Critical Coordination will now only be consumed by skills which heal or deal damage. Wizard's Fire has been split into two skills, Wizard's Frost and Wizard's Fire. Wizard's Frost, a brand new Lore Master character, will now begin with Wizard's Frost instead of Wizard's Fire. Wizard's Frost deals small damage and can consume a pet's flanked effect for a small heal. This is essentially the effect of Wizard's Fire had prior to this. So effectively, Wizard's Fire has been renamed to Wizard's Frost, and that there is a new version of Wizard's Fire. And Wizard's Fire is now earned by specializing in the Master of Nature's Fury trait tree. Wizard's Fire now deals a small amount of damage over time in addition to its initial damage, and Wizard's Fire can now consume a flanked effect to restore power and grant you a short buff to you with your damage over time effects. So, okay. I guess this falls under, huh? I'll have to have a look at that. Seeing how I'm testing a low-level Lore Master on Bulwer, maybe I could figure this out. Though, of course, I haven't, since I don't tend to take Master of Nature's Fury, I guess I haven't seen the new Wizard's Fire, so I can't to find what's different in there?
Well, I'm surprised they didn't. So they took what they took the frost or the flame made of frost. So why didn't they take the fury and make it happiness? Nature's happiness. Why not that?
Oh well. Now these small amount of damage over time, in addition to its initial damage. Okay. All right. Now. All right. Let's see. Let me give Brad and Brad deals small damage. Okay, so Wizard's Fire will have a dot on top of the opening damage, while Wizard's Frost doesn't have a dot on it. That's what it looks like is the big difference here. Eagle Friend is now earned by specializing in your Keeper of Animals trait tree.
Ouch.
So that means now at level 2, if you're specializing that, and when you select your specialization, because now those are going to be specializations will now be selected at level 2 instead of level 6.
So otherwise, are they just known as your eagle acquaintance?
No, otherwise it looks like you can't get them. Whereas before you could spend the trait points to get your eagle friend regardless of which one you specialized in.
Right, so now you have to be in blue line in order to get your eagle friend.
So you might potentially have an eagle enemy, is what you're saying.
Or like
They won't even be your
have
friend.
a non-eagle? I don't know.
A non-eagle?
Null eagle? Eagle null? No.
Null eagle?
Null eagle?
The trait, don't you touch him, now has 4 ranks. Minstrels! Change the wording from saying plus % Anthem of War damage physical to just plus % Anthem of War damage, as the actual effect buffed both physical and tactical damage of the ability. Yeah, I guess that's a good reason to change the wording. The Mistral trait Discordant Cries no longer refers to dissonant cries and calls in the tooltip, but instead just cries and calls. The Mistral trait Discordant Ballads no longer increases all skills damage passively, it now only increases ballads. The Mistral trait Emboldened Finish now has a clearer tooltip in the buff effect. The armor set bonus Unmatched Prowess from Remorkant now correctly improves the prowess attack speed buff rather than worsening it.
Talk about false advertising. Wow.
Yes. The Mistral trait Raise Our Spirits tooltip and Raise the Spirits skill tooltip with Raise Our Spirits traded have been changed to be more clear and accurate following Minstrel changes. Updated the Major Ballad Resonance skill tooltip to better state that anthems and codas are only unlocked by ballads while in combat. Entering Resonance stance will now correctly toggle off Timeless Echoes and Battle and Echoes battle. Stance skill inductions reduced significantly. Base anthem duration increased from 30 seconds to 45 seconds. I'm sure
Ooh.
we're going to cheer on. That's better
It
than
should
what.
have still been longer.
Well,
it's an improvement. It's a step in the right direction.
It's an improvement, yes.
After taking away like more than half of the duration.
Well, but Melody Stance now increases the anthem duration to by 15 seconds. So if you're in Melody Stance, that will be a minute instead.
Yeah.
Runekeepers. Change description on the Runekeeper capstone trait Are Fate Entwined to more accurately reflect its abilities. Now for the Warden. The careful step duration and movement speed tracery titles have been updated to reflect the actual effects of the traceries, as well as the tooltip's stat descriptions, now displaying careful step movement speed. The Warden armor of Dungarthadir 4-piece set bonus now provides the correct 2 additional DOT pulses. Good. The Reckless effect no longer transforms your Gambit's builder skills into their old Reckless variants. Gambit skills are now labeled with a visible skill type according to the first Gambit builder. And the skill Hampering Javelin is now earned at level 2. Monster Play. Tirith Raw, Lugazog, and Tol Skarnen now have 36 defenders when controlled. All defenders in the Entmoors are significantly tougher. OP VMP rank 10 gear updated to have slightly increased stats. Elf Camp and Orc Camp are now back to the opposite sides of the bridges on Tol Skarnen. Forward camps are depopulated and access to the Ent Deep is closed. I think we were discussing it earlier that the Ent Deep is closing down for renovations. Yes. New emissaries from Angmar arrived in the Entmoors. The war tyrant wants a word with all competence sworn to Angmar. This new introductory quest is part of the starter experience for the monster player, but available to all monster players. A new quest in Monster Play given by the War Tyrant. Visit him and follow the story to earn clan blessing from the newly arrived emissaries to the Entmoors. These blessings provide a semi-permanent enhancement to your monster character, giving them a boost in stats no longer available in Corruptions. Tiers 1 to Tier 3 armor for players now provides 3 Audacity per piece. When worn in conjunction with jewelry, the total yield for baseline gear is now 26 Audacity. For Tier 3, players can achieve the 36 cap. For the Defiler, boon skills will no longer break allies out of stealth.
Yay!
I'm sure all the works are cheering for that one. Well, actually, they're being stealthy, so maybe they're not going to cheer too loudly. Stalker, player skill damage lowered slightly. Claws and Raking Claws. And also for the Stalker, Shadow skill damage increased slightly. Stealth Pounce, Eye Rake, and Shadow Fangs.
Okay, that might make up for it.
Quests and instances. The quest tracker and quest guide now accommodate up to 10 quests, an increase from 5.
Whoa, that is kind of
That's
finally
interesting.
Yeah, a number of times I've had to juggle with 5 of them and try. Okay, now which 5 of the 7 quests I'm currently trying to work on am I going to have up here?
That's true, but think of the improved chances for confusion when we all have up 10 different ones and are trying to do something in a group. It's going to be great.
Oh,
where are you going? I'm following my quest arrow. Which quest arrow?
Yeah,
no, I auto-accepted the quest and it overwrote that or pushed the other quest out. We've been going the wrong way the entire time.
I think having 10 is going to be awesome.
Yeah. Quest in Mist Hollow. Who would live in Grazatgroper can now be cancelled. Quests in Strongholds of the North. Restoring the 3 Kingdoms can now be cancelled.
Woohoo!
The Deed. Eglan has been renamed to Kindred to the Eglain. The quest Warg Riders Loose in the Floodfells and Culling the Hunters can now be cancelled.
Woohoo!
Goblin Drums in Moria, Drums of War, now has a proper animation after use.
Ooh.
I'm kind of wondering what that might be.
Yeah. The quest dialogue, for instance, Shakalush, the stair battles, now properly displays correct boss locations.
Nice.
I guess I wasn't reading it carefully enough in order to notice that they were wrong. Frozen whites in a particular area, in an instance Sare Surma, should no longer spawn over level. If I remember correctly, that has been a complaint with that instance for a while. Far Anorian Quest, treating with scoundrels updated quest rewards to fit new LI system. The rewards for March on Gundabad additional steps daily are now all usable on level 130. Many session play quests throughout the epic story have been made optional. When you arrive at one of these quest steps, you can choose to complete the session play as normal, or you can interact with a shortened account book located nearby. This will advance the quest beyond the session play, and you can resume the epic story. The following formerly mandatory quests have been given this treatment. Volume 4, Book 8, Chapter 1, No Other Way. Volume 4, Book 9, Chapter 4, The Precious at Last. Now, okay, I guess you, Sans, will want to skip No Other Way because it involves a big spider.
I was gonna say, I don't mind skipping that one. Though, I think I like the Book 9, Chapter 4 one.
Okay. Daughter of Strife, Volume 1, Book 15. We Cannot Get Out, Volume 2, Book 3. The House of Isildur, Volume 3, Book 2. We were just doing these last week, the House of Isildur. And yes, I remember some complaints in the group about, oh, we gotta do this now. At the Stone of Erech, Volume 3, Book 3. The Wizard's Veil, Volume 3, Book 4. The Point of Decision, Volume 3, Book 7. The Breaking of the Fellowship, Volume 3, Book 7. The Horn of Gondor, once again, Volume 3, Book 7. Two Hobbits, Volume 3, Book 7. The Prisoner of Samath Ball, Volume 1, Book 14. And The Fate of Laridan, Volume 1, Book 14. Oh, yeah, The Fate of Laridan. Yeah, because I think The Prisoner of Samath Ball and The Fate of Laridan are two that people have always complained about, if I remember correctly. Classic instances and epic battles. While this has been a case in many instances for several years, the following skills are now uniformly barred from use in classic instances and epic battles. Still as Death, Hobbit Silence, Desperate Flight, Hide in Plain Sight, and Improved Hide in Plain Sight.
That's kind of good that you can no longer desperately fly to the beginning of the instance with everything
accidentally
to your dead allies who are just reviving. Yes, because it looks kind of like the campfire skill if you're not paying attention with the little flame on it.
Yeah.
And I have been trying to light a campfire to heal up and accidentally just boop before.
Yeah. So yes, we have this. So all those things are now no longer available when you're in one of those instances. In addition, the following skills is now barred from use in classic instances and epic battles set to group sizes of 12 players and higher, and that is Roaring Challenge.
Huh.
Let me see. Right? Roaring Challenge. Because Roaring Challenge, that sounds like a taunt skill, or is this something completely different?
It's a forced taunt. Oh. It's the Lore Master's Bear's forced taunt.
Oh, okay.
You're not going to have any competition from Lucky anymore, Krister.
I know.
Okay. So therefore, well, at least in raids, that's only That one only applies in raids, the Roaring Challenge one. I guess it's because if you're in a raid, you probably have a set tank.
Well, we do, but it's always nice having an emergency taunt in case things go awry. Because the classic thing is the tank taunting everything, the AoE immediately pulling everything off the tank, and the tank has to wait for their taunts to reset. So that is not lucky. Is our lore master's bear, and he has proven very effective in many situations by doing that. So
no longer. Adjusted the text in instance Ziegelberg returned. I could pretty much guess what text they adjusted here. And that is, of course, is one of the dwarves says, well, how is your LI that we gave you doing? What do you mean you threw it away? Yeah, so I have a feeling that because of the new way that LIs work, they decided to change it. I know that they were discussing whether or not they were going to keep it there just as a joke or whether they were going to update the text. I guess they finally decided to update the text. So now I'm going to have to do that instance in order to see what the new wording is. New missions are now available to play and test. Oh, right. We discussed that earlier. Into the Netting Glade has received a minor polish pass to have the interaction free the captives in the cocoon. Change the name of the Silent Street instance effect Fear to Terrorize to prevent confusion and better communicate that this effect is not curable. The quest, A Little Extra Never Hurts, Part 2, now grants the writing skill and a little extra mount instead of a battered horn of disruption. While A Little Extra Never Hurts Part 1 can only be completed once per world, A Little Extra Never Hurts Part 2 can now be completed in every new character in the Archit, Eredluine, or Mossword starting character areas.
Wait. We can ride in the starter area now?
Hold on, let's see. A little extra part.
It gets a riding skill and a mount.
Yeah.
Can we trample?
No, because it's a regular riding skill.
I mean, it might even be one of the really slow mounts. I don't know. But I'm hoping it's a regular mount.
No, it's a regular mount. I know it's a regular mount because well, of course, I was in Mossword, and by that time I would have already have had the Journeyman trait. But it's...
Okay, so, like, we can use our Journeyman writing in the intro.
No, you can't use that in the intro. It's just that Mossword does... You gotta remember is that Mossword, I told you, doesn't have an intro area. It goes directly from tutorial to main world.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I say I don't know what the case would be on Archit, for example, because...
Well, it says in the starting character areas.
Yeah, it does say starter character areas, so I think that you can probably use this. But you were asking earlier, was it a slow mount?
Well, yeah, but, like, there's a difference between, like, a slow mount, a regular mount, and a Journeyman writing mount.
Right, yeah.
But if we can use the writing skill, there's a chance we might be able to use the Journeyman writing skills. Because they just require using the writing skill first, right?
Well, Journeyman thing... Well, it also required, in the past, in order to use the thing, in order to use the writing skill, you had to have Novice.
Have Novice.
Right, and in Archit, you won't have Novice in Intro Archit.
Unless they changed it, because you get the thing.
Well,
I don't know, we're going to have to test this. I'm curious.
It could be... I know in Mossword, you're in the main world, so you already have Novice at level 2. Actually, you have Novice at level 1 in Mossword. And
so maybe now everyone gets Novice at level 1.
We'll have to see, because traditionally Novice is something that was reserved to when you're out of intro area, so...
Yeah, but wasn't that like partially because of spammers and the mailbox system and all that? But if Mossword is just the regular world, then they must not be as worried about that.
Oh, you mean what, for the case of the writing thing, or for?
Well, no, for the novice
for
skill, because like once you got it, then you could check your mail, you could send mail to other people, you could join kinships and stuff.
Interesting question.
I don't know, it'll be interesting.
Yeah. I hope that I remember to test that when Bulwark comes up again next week. But anyway, a little extra never hurts, and I know that on Bulwark the store step is bypassed from Bulwark, but there of course is a little extra never hurts. Part 2 requires you go into the store, and I don't know how much little extra never hurts Part 2 costs. Yeah, I don't know what the current cost of it is, but because I know that Part 1 gave you some LOTRO points, that enough LOTRO points so that you'll be able to, and that you spent those in Part 2, so it balanced out. And some people might have, just for those, I think it's 5 or 10 LOTRO points or whatever, might have just skipped that thing altogether and just took the LOTRO points and kept them or something like that. So that means you will have to have whatever LOTRO points it costs, I guess, in order to unlock the quest.
So we'll have to check that too.
But, okay. A little extra mount can also be acquired from mithril traders in Archit, Teledem, Little Delving, and Thorn's Gate. So I presume that is if you veteran past and are no longer in the intro area, then there's still a way to get the mount, even if you don't complete the quest. Now, I did check the prices on this, and I did talk to a mithril trader, and I found that the little extra steed costs 5 mithril, and that the riding trait, which I think is already available from the trader, it sells for 10 mithril, which I think it's, if you buy it with LOTRO points, it's 95 LOTRO points, about equivalent.
That sounds about right.
Right. So if you already have the riding trait, then for 5 mithril you could get that. But I think that a little extra hurts. I don't know how many points that costs because they might change the cost to it also. As I said, they don't have the cost up yet on Borer. They're you just click on the quest and it's up automatically because Borer. A little extra amount, right? We already talked about the Mithril. Oh, Clothing Gap quest, Reclaiming the Gap. Agrim will no longer increase the war kill count for this quest. All right. What, the Agrim aren't wargs?
Apparently not. I guess it's a good distinction to make.
All right. On a mission weekly and on a continuing mission weekly have been updated to advance when completing missions in Before the Shadow. As a note, any weekly progress for these quests for both their level cap and non-level cap variants will be reset when Before the Shadow launches. So therefore, we suggest that if you are able to complete it before the launch on Tuesday, November 8th, that means you'll have only Thursday, Friday, about 5.5 days, I guess, in order to complete the weekly instead of the usual 7 days for the week of the launch, since it'll be releasing then. Of course, after release, you got 1.5 days, but you're unlikely you're going to complete that unless you're really spam the missions. Quest, Weapons for the Woes. A spear shaft has been moved out from under some branches in order to make it more easily accessible. The flame dousing animation for the quest Saving the Wilds has been fixed, and fix a typo in the quest Agrim from Skarashulg. Skarashulg. What a name. Alright, as for general things, auto attacks can no longer advance skill deeds. This is part of a much broader optimization regarding how skills interact with the quests. Oh yes, because auto attacks advancing skill deeds is probably one of the sources of lag on the system.
But also, are there even going to be skill deeds? Because you don't have to do skill deeds to get your trait points now.
Well, yeah, but skill deeds are... What are the skill deeds going to be?
Do they grant, like, virtue points now? Or are they just all going away?
Well...
I don't know, but it might help server lag if they're not doing anything if they don't exist.
Well,
I don't know. We'll have to see.
Because I noticed that... let's see... They're also a source of LOTRO points.
Okay,
right?
they're a source of LOTRO points.
Right, so I have a feeling they can't take them away or people will bitterly complain about the loss of the LOTRO points.
They could just attach this to level up. You reached level 5, have 5 LOTRO points. They probably won't do that.
Well,
but that does make me wonder about the skill deeds, though, because that's basically all they do, right?
Well,
is combined together to give us skill points.
Yeah, when you have... Right, because there are 3... Yeah, because I've found that little funny thing with my Hunter, because I Valor that one pretty much right out of the intro area. So as a result, I had none of those deeds completed. But I had the meta deed for each of those tier meta deed ones, the ones that give you the actual trait points. Those were auto-completed by doing the Valor, so because they were a source of... Because I think that's the way in which they give you all your trait points, and is to auto-complete the wrappers in there. But of course, I still had to do the individual skill deeds, and you're right. I think outside of a pat on the back and maybe some LOTRO points, that was it. Barbership costs have been significantly decreased across all character levels. I think that's a yay. Yes. Ranged extension trace tree description now indicates that it works on skills with a base range of 15 plus. I think that's to keep people from using ranged extension to help their melee skills, I guess.
Or hoping that it's going to help their melee skills and then feeling sad that it done it.
There's a question from the chat that say, don't the skill deeds also give us improved skills? I believe that was no longer the case as of, 5-10 years ago?
I don't remember them giving you improved skills.
Way back when. In the early days, they did. In the early days, they did. That's the old trait tree system.
I've only done them to get the trait points.
Yeah.
As far as I can remember.
Yeah. I don't think you were around for the...
If I was, I might not have known what those deeds even were.
Yes, that's always a possibility. Because you notice that there are some skills that are called improved such and such.
Right.
Yeah, you used to earn them by completing deeds. Is the way that they used to be unlocked.
That would make so much sense. I'm glad that we don't have to, but that does make sense for the naming of them that way.
Yes, okay. Reorganize all Word of Mastery class-specific trace tree barter profiles so that they were by utility and role rather than by rarity. I would have to go and look in the archives in Rivendell to see exactly what they mean there. Yeah, because right now, all those traceries are by rarity, and that you have this. You're trying to say, okay, now which one do I want and stuff like that. But the question is,
that might help with comparing to see, like, hey, I can only get one really good tracery. Which one will give me the best thing for my character?
right? Yeah, I guess that does help with that also. Ethylarn tokens recipes for the Ironfold, Minacethal, and Gudabad tiers now require polished gems instead of raw gems. That's been a problem for a while, it looks like, yes.
It has been, and I thought it was funny, and now I think it's funny that they're fixing it.
Crafted minstrel instruments now display the correct eye level on the critical version tooltip. Items that disenchant to crafting materials no longer show a string table error. Well, that's good. Ethylarn tooltips now indicates it can be crafted into a polished gem. Added max level values to some older set bonuses and reduced the max levels for set bonuses on low level jewelry obtained from in epic battles. Note, this only affects set bonuses, not the items themselves. This is that they're of course trying to keep people from using set bonuses from earlier pieces.
You know, I'm actually more okay with the max level on the bonus than I am with it on the item itself, because it's really disconcerting to be fighting and then level up and suddenly have nothing on.
Yeah, that is always been a problem.
I mean, that was kind of funny when it happened to us on the field trip, but not really very funny either.
Yeah. Also added max level values to trigger essences and class essences. Like gear set bonuses, essences for a given level range will no longer be effective once your character has exceeded that level range. Housing items. The Singing Bowl of Taralindale once again plays music. Wedding fireworks and golden wedding fireworks now play sounds each time that you use them. Yeah, wedding fireworks probably should make a little bit of noise at least, I guess. Tall variations of the Yondershire decorative walls can now be purchased from the Yonder Watch Quartermasters. The Durance Day ambient environment will no longer break when hooked during the server-determined cloudy, rainy, or stormy weather time. Okay, so that means rain won't ruin Durance Day, I guess that means. Level scaling medium and heavy gloves of fate have had their will and tactical mastery stats replaced with stats relevant to medium and heavy armor wearers. Guess that's good. Reputation pets in the angle are now able to be bartered after learning the skill. Reputation pets in the angle are now able to be bartered after learning this. Learning what skill?
Yeah, I don't understand that, because by learning the skill, don't you have it?
Yeah, that was a little bit strange, yes. Added in new barter profiles for the legendary weapon class items barter NPC in Rivendell to have all the barter profiles condensed and separated by class. Alright, yeah, because the legendary weapons class items barter NPC, I could not understand the layout that was being done there. The Host of the West Herbmaster now has armor upgrades for Brawler for Throne of Dread Terror raid tokens. The icon for Ore in Hand from the Farmer's Fair has been updated. Some lower to mid-level gear has now had their stats updated. Word order for Smile Wall Deco items is now consistent. pitch on some Orc Combat VO is back to what it previously was. There was some Orc Combat VO that was changed pitch. Critters in Gundabad can no longer be attacked by elves and high elves.
All the critters rejoice.
All the critters rejoice, yes. And I think the elves who might have been in combat and accidentally targeting a critter are probably happy about that too. Because
I killed another hedgehog today.
Several Yonder-Shire interiors now have more appropriate ambience for their environment. Red aster flower in Great River Wailing Hills, previously stuck inside the land, has been moved and is now accessible. That's good to hear. Vales of Anduin Bjorning guards will no longer attack low-level players.
Yay!
Cliffs and rocks in the eastern pass from Tristlebridge now match each other. Rock appearances from deep beneath Gundabad should no longer escape into the rest of the game world. Rocks surrounding Garsfeld should no longer take on different appearances. I have a feeling all of these are related. The wild spotted donkey cosmetic pet is now listed and visible in the collector's panel. Change the name Virulent Disease to be Virulent Cloud, and as well as gave the tooltip description as saying a miasma so potent that it cannot be cured, to better convey the effects of the debuff to players.
That's helpful, but yuck.
Remove the barter profile for relics ally Wilderfolk from the Wilderfolk Rewards Quartermaster. Maybe because there aren't any, I guess must be the case.
Probably.
Blood Kraban and formal Corgi pets now appear in the collections panel. Fix a typo in the tooltip for Blazon of the Last Alliance in Mordor Besieged. The Stormhammer Goat mount now has the correct description in the collections panel. Balthazar Barter NPC in Mirkwood no longer duplicates categories and items. Oh, thank you. That was just confusing me this last week. As I'm wondering, why do they have all these copies of the same thing?
Try to trick you to buy it twice.
Exactly, maybe. They're cheap designer knockoffs.
Yeah, maybe it. Crumpug, an elite goblin boss in Ananul Bazaar, no longer drops obsolete legendary item loot. Well, that's good here. The People of Wildermore barter vendor no longer has outdated LI items and profiles. Obsolete relics no longer drop in the Abyss of Mordath raid chest. Well, that's very good to hear. The Warsteed skill granting item is now indestructible.
Woohoo!
The Warsteed granting item now requires level 70 to consume.
Ooh.
Ooh, yeah.
I think that's a typo. They meant level 5, right? At least like level 65.
I want to trample noobs in Archet, and that doesn't make it possible.
I have a feeling they were saying, oh, since Winda keeps on taking on Warsteeds at level 5 on Bulwer, we got to stop this.
I mean, it's Bulwer. They don't care about that. Apparently, they want to stop me from wanting to go to Rohan. It's 60.
I propose we turn all Warsteeds into
wasn't
spiders.
Possible. But it's not possible to get a Warsteed before 70 anyway in the main world, right?
Is it?
Because 75 is when Rohan starts, and so 5 levels earlier would be the earliest you could do the quests.
Maybe?
Yeah.
I really do want to see one of the Lord of the Rings, like a movie, portray arriving at Rohan in the game. Because here you are, you have your entourage, you have all your fancy medals from all the conquests you've done. You're this hero on your beautiful steed. You get there, they put a mop in your hand. They're going, go clean out the latrines.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I guess it's a level 75 quest.
Okay.
I still think somebody got an accidental 7 in there, but
well, I suspect that it was to keep you from consuming it on over 65 levels early.
I mean, who would want to stop that?
Now I'm suspicious the way you said that.
It's like the best part of Bull Roar.
Oh, well.
I mean, besides getting free money and such, but...
Oh, well. Obsolete legendary item rewards will no longer drop from Epic Battles rewards packages.
That's kind of nice.
The Wildermore Rip Vendor no longer lists a Runekeeper only tracery. Changed falling injury effects to be less punishing. Changed run speed debuff from 40% to 30%. Changed duration of effect from 60 to 60 seconds down to 5 to 15 seconds.
What the heck? Now, instead of falling injury, now it's like falling pampering.
You know, I like this kind of, but I almost wish that they had left it the same and then like made it so that if you timed it just right, you could avoid all effects. Like if you jump into water or something like that.
Oh, into water, sort of like some other games do.
I mean, it's
kind of fun. Or Sans, if you could like time it so you change it to a Bjorning, you go into bear form right when you hit the ground, and then you take no damage as a result.
That would be funny. Or if it was like, yeah, I don't know. I think this will be fun though. I like it.
The Glooming Tarn frame from the Jalruka clan barter list no longer can auto-consume endlessly. I don't want to even know what that's about. The mount appearance item Sea Ward Legs no longer gives a string table error on its description. Yes. Change Steed of the Gundabad Vanquisher to Gundabad Vanquisher Steed. Steed now has proper description and will display the collections panel before you acquire it. The Woodcutter's Brotherhood token now says that it also can award reputation points in the tooltip. Okay, useful to note. The cosmetic item, Ceremonial Great Club of the Delver, now has the behavior, usage, and text of a two-handed weapon as intended. The Crystal Grim attack, Jagged Shards, is now fixed and does the correct amount of damage. And also, low to mid-level stats for jewelry, shields, and weapons have been updated. I guess because they have the new player experience in there, so there'll be a larger number of low-level players. So let's face it, some of the damage being done at those ranges was a little bit too much, shall we say? Or do you disagree with that?
Like, the damage player characters were doing was too much? Or, like, the damage being done to us was too much?
By the characters. You know, like,
I think
for example,
it depends on which character class you were on.
Yeah, I'm a captain. We never do too much damage.
Neither do the Guardians. And right now the Minstrels aren't doing too much damage. And they scaled back Hunter damage. So, I don't know.
What do you mean scaled back Hunter damage? Hey, my Hunter is... I'm running a Yellow Line Hunter lately, and I can one-shot greenies without any trouble on some of my lesser skills. And I'm yellow line, not red line. And
I'm just
with
saying,
my
at
more
low
powerful skills,
levels, that's not
okay.
likely.
Yeah, low levels? Yeah,
Low
I think
level hunter and low level minstrel are kind of painful.
Okay, that's right. I
Well,
don't
that's
think I
more
did
their
low.
personalities. I mean,
Okay.
Thanks, Custer.
Okay. You do
So
have
are
a point.
captains and guardians, and
Right.
but like minstrels and hunters come into their own much later into the game. In the game.
Okay, I have to admit that the last hunter I played was Ballard, so therefore I did not go through the low level stuff. So I guess I can't give a fair comment on low and mid level for that class at the moment.
Yeah, I think some of their stat changes to make things work better at higher levels had, I don't know if they were intentional consequences at low levels, but I don't agree that they're doing too much damage right now at low levels.
Well, okay, I guess we'll find out what they're talking about here. I guess we could compare because I'm assuming that they were adjusting them down, but maybe they were adjusting them up and I was making a poor assumption there.
I mean, going either direction would be hard. A lot of them are like +1 agility. So, like, if you go down, it's like plus nothing.
Oh, you do have a point there.
So, but then the ones that are like +5, maybe they scaled it back. So they're all like +1 for the first 40 levels. I don't know.
When I was thinking stats, I was thinking of the damage being done, but you're thinking of
but if it's jewelry, it's not
gonna
have a damage thing on it.
You
the
got
weapons,
a point there.
They might change the damage stat, but like the jewelry and the shields, I'm thinking that the stats on them tend to be like agility, will, vitality,
and
they don't tend to be very high until you get much higher in the game.
True. The Glooming Tarn frame from the Joruka clan barter list is no longer auto. Oh, another one that's auto-consumed. All right. The Golden Cave Claw mask item from the Buried Treasure event has had its sell price updated to better reflect its rarity. Yule Festival cosmetic comparison head and saddle appearances now cost the same for each barter vendor. All right. You don't want to go run around trying to find the best bargain, I guess? The obsolete NPC legendary traders have been removed from Bree, 21st Hall, Dolben View, and Lothlorien. They will no longer have map notes on the minimap. Now, I think they're already gone in the game. I think it's just that the map notes are still there. The normal weapon aura is now bound to account rather than to character. The White Company Quartermaster no longer barters for obsolete relics, but instead for level-appropriate traceries. That's good. The barterable fish earnable in the Farmer's Fair Festival are not able to be affected by Fateful Toolkit. These fish have had their category changed from Festival to Misc to better reflect the status. The fish still go into the barter wallet and can still be bartered for appropriate tokens. The Farmer's Fair Festival Steed of the Summer Night, now appears in the collections panel whether you own it or not. The Volume 3 gift box no longer awards players with obsolete flawed symbols of Celebrimbor. Instead, it will award a level-appropriate, incomparable Shatter Tracery token. Fixed the typo in the barter token item Golden Token of the Rittermark. Added some text to help prevent accidental early reforging of a new legendary item. For housing, In the Erebor housing neighborhood, property guards summoned from the housing decorations will stick around to visit and defend your property instead of immediately disappearing again. Fix the icon in the formidable mace of the Wayfarer to show the correct weapon. Several other spears and daggers of the Wayfarer have been fixed in the same manner. Update the description of the package of the item enchantment runes ×3 incomparable, rare and uncommon to denote that sometimes these packages drop an additional rune. The sleeping brown cat offered throughout the barter during the Harvest Math Festival now has the same price on both barter profiles. Made changes to the German language UI for the reward track. It should now display the title and countdown times labels correctly. And that is it. That was quite a mouthful.
Well, still, that was like a quarter of the time of that other podcast we
did. Not true, though, but yes. Now, the other note that they had was that the good news is world transfers returned. The bad news is 6 hours later they were taken down again.
And did they define what the issue was, or is that still an unknown at this point?
I do not know what the issue was. And the curator will be visiting the worlds from October 24th, 10 a.m. to November 2nd, 3 a.m.
Yay!
Is the curator that guy from The Matrix that like made everything? Or am I thinking about somebody else?
I think you're thinking of somebody else. I mean, let's go to the store sales. Krister, what's on sale this week?
Well, it's my favorite thing, forging my own ring, because I can't get my hands on the One Ring. You get 25% off Crafting Guild Access, Ingredients Packs, Crafting Accelerators, Rapid Craft, Crafting Tiers, and Recipe Books. The weekly coupon is for a free white die. Ooh, I'm going to go get that. And the coupon code is white die number and the number 1. White die and the number 1. All one word. And that's all through October 27th.
Then let's see what we have on our site news. And we have a preview for the Doom of Karis Gelebrin. This video is actually split into 2 parts. In the first part, we have the first 3 assaults, and the second part, we have the final 2 assaults in there. So this is between the 2, it's a full run through the skirmish from the beginning until the end. So if you're interested in seeing what the new skirmish is like, you can check that out. So let's enter our weekend gaming. Krister, what were you up to, and did you kill the dragon yet?
Well, no. You know, we were having a kind of a steady, consistent raiding group going there for a while, and now it's quieted down a bit. So last week, everybody wanted to take a break, and so we did some skirmishes. And this week, we had about half the people show up, so we ended up doing some skirmishes. So the dragon still lives. However, what we've decided to kind of spice things up is that next week we're going to try to do the tier 3 boss 1, because the other advantage for us to do that would be that I think it was, oh gosh darn it, now I can't remember. It was I think it's like the pants and shoulders, I want to say, drop. So these would be different drops than we're getting. And so we're thinking it's definitely worthwhile to try it. And the tactics do change quite a bit in that boss fight. So basically been quiet. The dragon's probably going to be living for a little while longer. But it was basically it was kind of funny because I think every single person had a bad week. So it was just one of those weeks where we just did a couple skirmishes. Everything was nice and quiet and just had a good night. And then in ESO, got my Dragonlight to level 50 just before the podcast, so that rocked. And my Orc, I'm happy to report, he's got his gambling addiction under control now. He stopped playing Tribute so much. But I've stopped a very staggeringly a massive flow of ingredients into my into my crafting bag. So I might have to start gambling a little bit again. And then I was feeling kind of a hankering, thinking about my old Starfleet battles, Starfire gaming days. And so I found a demo for this kind of top-down shipbuilding, spaceship building game called Cosmeteer, and then I played a little bit of this top-down starship survival game called Stardeos, and they were both kind of fun. So that was my week. Sans, what were you up to?
Well, I celebrated Durin's Day and did some festivaling with the girls of Middle Earth. And then I went equus taming with an arc with Cinders, basically horse taming. We've got a whole herd going now. You'd be proud, Krister. And then we set up an ocean exploration base, which was punctuated by, oh, here's another equus. Let me take it back and tame it real fast. So that was fun. And I think I finished the outer walls for our Minecraft server's new trading center.
Yay!
Not the roof yet, not the inside, but I think the outer walls are pretty much done.
It was looking really impressive when I saw it. So
yeah, that took a lot of work to get all the things lined up properly, but I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I look across the water to the beautiful skyline with all this massive tower, this dominating tower, and all these infrastructure, and I'm sitting there in my hut drinking out of a coconut, So
I'm an amethyst coconut.
Well, Fabergé. It's a Fabergé coconut.
I mean, your treehouse is almost all amethyst these days, it looks like.
Well, I got lucky in the massive, gigantic cavern down below.
Fair. But that was pretty much my week. How was your week, Fineleaf?
And I'll begin with my hunter, who ran quite a number of missions and a number of skirmishes. So now I am level 117. Yes, I'm getting up there now. Now my warden helped to defend Celebrimbor, and videos noted at our website that I was discussing earlier. And my guardian cleared out the orcs that were troubling Bree. So I cleared out them. I think that's probably enough for the guardian. I was just playing that guardian in order to get the feel of how the guardian operates and as something to work with while waiting for the Beyond the Shadow stuff to start coming out. So I think I will be transferring over to a lore master. I'll be creating a new lore master for Before the Shadow, so I'm going to start getting ready for that probably instead of doing too much more with this guardian. But perhaps it gives me some ideas of what to do when I decide to pick up my higher level guardian, and maybe I'll be close to competent at playing it, though based on my past deeds with guardians, don't place any bets in my favor. We currently have 16 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to join this illustrious parade of players and help support LOTRO players, you go to the nation's page to support the Players Alliance on Patreon. Your money will be used for our podcast hosting, website hosting, and to pay for our live shows. If you would like to send us an email, you can send it to podcast@LOTROplayers.com. You can also follow us at Twitter, the Players Alliance at Players Ally, LOTRO Players at LOTRO Players, Pineleaf at Pineleaf Deals, Sanswinda at Sanswinda, and Krister at Entropy Engine 1. The Players Alliance has two shows. On Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. USC time, we have LOTRO Players News, and on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. USC time, we have DDO Players News. You can choose for our shows at LOTROplayers.com/live. And that's all for tonight. And this is Pilot Mules reminding you to skirmish responsibly.